Hey, sorry.
Oh, good.
I had to run in from another panel in a different part of the internet. And boy, are my some internet jokes tired.
Tubes.
Ta-da.
It's a series of tubes.
Great. Boy, are my tubes tired? No, that's not. Hang on.
Oh.
Hey, everybody. We're from LoadingReadyRun. And this is one of three, count them, three, PAX panel Q&As that we are doing for PAX Online. And to really try to bring the entire experience of a LoadingReadyRun PAX Q&A panel to you on the internet, we have assembled as many people who were available at the time, and we have a brief slideshow to announce. Not really announcing anything, but we have a couple updates. I'm sure I'll get better at this part for the ones we do for Europe and Australia.
We'll be able to tell which one we did first, eh?
You're doing great.
Let's do the slideshow.
Isn't that like the opposite of actually how it would be? Like by time zones?
I don't know how they're going to... We don't know how they're going to air these. Like, obviously, these are all pre-recorded. We've sent out questionnaires to Loading Ready Run fans, and they've sent questions in, and Beej rather, has selected some number of them, and we're going to answer some number of them over the course of the next...
Why is Beej so awesome?
Lay that shit at my feet. Great. This is what I've always wanted, though, is that whenever we have a PAX panel, I want to vet everybody who comes up to the microphone before they ask their goddamn questions.
Okay, now before I give you the microphone, you have to tell me the question first.
And I'll tell you if it's any good.
Yeah.
Okay, you may have the
I
microphone.
mean, we could
of power.
always
You sit
steal
down.
from
You
the
sit down.
McElroys and just say, like, no bummers.
No bummers.
That's
No
pretty good.
bummers.
No
No
bummers.
summers. No bummers.
So I've got a comment, really, and then a follow-up comment,
Oh my god.
and then a suggestion.
Oh no.
Dissertation.
I didn't
comment
realize
and
we were
then
just
a
going to make fun of
suggestion.
ourselves at this panel. I don't know why.
So let's take a quick look at the slides we have. So this is the Loading Ready Run PAX Online Q&A. Specifically, this is the North America Time Zones edition, serving Canada, Upper and Lower America and its various states, Mexico, Guatemala to Chile, inclusive, parts of Brazil, and Pitcairn Island.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope someone's watching from there.
It's statistically improbable. There's like 43 people that live on Pitcairn Island.
They probably don't
Are
have like great
Saint Pierre
internet.
and Miquelon North American?
They're in Canada. Well, they're French, but they're like
Ensconced within.
near. Well,
Yeah,
they're like
near-
they're just off the coast of the Maritimes,
Like, we didn't mention Cuba in this, but they are also there. Unless...
and the Caribbean. That's true.
Look, there's a lot of
Yeah.
other places. There's a lot of places that are within. We also the half-hour time zones. You know, PEI you can come to.
Yeah,
They're not on a half hour.
What?
No, Newfoundland's on the
Newfoundland is on the half hour.
Yeah. Greenland, I think, counts as well.
I mean, there's
don't
probably more
actually-
people living on Greenland than live on Pitcairn Island. I don't know. I've never been. I don't want to go. Their mayors keep getting arrested for sex crimes. So, before we get to the bulk of the Q&A questions, there was one question that we've been getting a lot over the past several months of March that I wanted to just head off at the pass, which is, hey, why aren't you making X content right now? Content like...
Because we never made any content called X. Obviously, is the answer.
I loved your X show. Why you no more make X? Things like Friday Nights, or The Panelists, or Sidewalk Slam. And I don't wish to sound like I am talking down to anyone, but there is a global pandemic. And that's why we're not making... If there's something that we usually make or said we would make or mentioned offhand that we wanted to make or something that even that you'd like us to make and we're not doing, that's why.
You said it way less shitty than I would have.
Seeing that in all caps sans serif is terrifying.
Yeah, it's
It should be.
It's a statement.
Would pandemic be more relatable if it had serifs on the text? If we
I don't want pandemic to be relatable.
Is it in? Put it in brush script so I can
built
put it on
this-
like a T-shirt at the mall.
I built this in like Google Drive slideshow, and like lobster is one of the default fonts there. You know, you could do it like
why that's a travesty.
make it look like like a microbrewery or something.
Yeah, you could put it in papyrus. That would make it look, I don't know.
So
Ominous.
we had intended to do more episodes of Friday nights. We were going to do a whole little mini season of it this year. We'd be shooting more panelists by now. Adam and I can't be arsed to keep up on wrestling at the moment. We just have too much other stuff in our brain. So, but trust us, we are also very sorry that we can't keep up on all the various content that we do. But that is why.
On the subject of panelists, though, either before or after this,
Yes.
they're
Elsewhere during PAX Online will be an entire of the panelists panel. So check the schedule, and if it's already happened, you can find it on the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel. And if it hasn't happened yet, watch it.
you have something to look forward to.
Yeah. But we not only have we managed to maintain everything that we are doing week to week, which is a not insignificant amount of stuff. We also have new merch. Yes. So check out this stuff on store.loadingreadyrun.com. We have a fun arena twist. You know, amusingly, is anything about the pandemic amusing? No, very little. But we had planned on this arena style diagram playmat. I think that Beej, was this your idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It occurred to me. I'm like, boy, we haven't actually leveraged. Wait, was it
No,
your idea?
it was my idea. You idea stealer.
It came from this house that I live in.
Wow, that
We share a lot of things, and I guess we share ideas now too. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you, Heather.
This was
yeah.
Heather's
So it's
idea.
a diagram playmat, but for Magic Arena, and that ended up becoming way more relevant in the past couple months. But we finally hooked up with Wormwood Gaming to do Loading Ready Run Dice Vaults and Dice Friends rolling trays. And the little thing across the top there, it says, "From the bones of trees and the skins of beasts," and it's available in two different woods. The tray. It was available in 3, but one of them is sold out. But if you want the one in Purple Heart, you can put your name down, and then we'll have an idea of how many people want that.
If we can't even reorder them, you have to kind of hit a threshold sometimes, but we'll see.
Yeah. And the dice vaults are Wenge wood with the Loading Ready Run logo inlaid in turquoise. They're very nice. And
the semi-precious stone turquoise, not just the color turquoise.
yeah. And from PAX East, the last time that any of us were able to be in public with other people, we have our Corpline pin from that is now also up on the store.
But by the way, I was amused by seeing you play using the arena style playmat on the CFB Commander game a couple days ago.
Yeah, with paper magic
with
cards.
paper magic cards. It's like, that's not the point of this. What's happening here? This is just confusing.
Well, I'm glad. I thought it was funny. Yeah. What else do we normally talk about at these slideshows? Ah, yes. The specter of Desert Bus. Whoops, there it is. Desert Bus floats ever towards us. Look, we don't know what it's going to look like. Something there'll be some form of Desert Bus. We know it's going to start at Friday, November 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific.
And James will be there.
Twitch.tv/Desert Bus.
We know that it will end at some point, presumably.
And everything between those.
You know what? Let's not even say that. Let's not even say that.
We know there's a
commitment
start point.
to an end.
And beyond that, we're still working it out. So tune in. It's going to be excellent. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of, so PAX Online goes between September 12th and September 20th. And I hope that you're enjoying it so far. Also during that period of time is the Zendikar Rising pre-release. I don't know where that's falling, but it's Monday, September 14th at 11 a.m. Pacific. And so if that is a day or two from now, do check it out on twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. And if that's another day, then you can find it on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LRRMTG. That's the Magic specific YouTube channel.
Really hope it's not conflicting with this panel that we're currently doing.
We've asked them not to, but I suppose it may not be strictly avoidable. So I guess we'll find out.
Well, they can watch one of these things later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all on the internet. Nothing on the internet truly goes away. So, all right, that's everything that I had prepared, and now for the part of the show where we go to the questions that you have prepared and sent us. So we're gonna go through a selection of questions and answer what we can. Paul, how about you start us off?
Let's get this first question from Not Cain Nor Able. It's for Grammar Paul. What was the first time you thought, "Oh my, I run a business"?
Oh,
I mean,
the first time.
like taxes obviously are a serious big thing.
When the government gets involved, yeah.
But no, like seriously, like or I think so when we did Unskippable was sort of when it was essentially Bionic Trousers Media was created so that the Escapist had an entity with which to sign a contract for Unskippable.
Yes.
Because otherwise it would have been like Graham or I personally that signed that was in the contract instead of, it was still a partner, like it was a partnership at that point, but it was still a separate business.
I wonder if this sensation, like I'm just guessing here, if it's maybe rather than like a specific singular point, whether it's like an escalation of like milestones.
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually, because what Paul was talking about back when it was sort of when we started doing Unskippable, that was much less of like whoa, I run a business, rather than like, oh, this is my job, and then it was like, oh, and this is enough to, it's not just a job, it's enough to actually like pay me to, like to eat an amount of food. And then it was like, then it became like, and other people can be paid, and then we can have an office space, and then more people can be paid.
And a better office space.
Yeah, then a better office. And then it's like, sort of milestones all along the way. It's still, I'm like, even now, I'm still sort of like, huh. Cool.
We had to hire a man to take the bees out of our corporate bathroom.
Corporate bathroom?
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's executive washroom. Actually, not quite yet. And once I get the washlet, it's an executive washroom.
Are you for real putting a washlet in there?
Yeah, he's been trying.
He'd like to. In the realm of, if anything at the office is the corporate whatever, then yes, I suppose the bathroom that everyone uses is technically the company bathroom. Then yeah, I suppose that is the case. Yeah.
And I mean, like in the classical definition of corporate, having a body.
So many
Please
bodies.
laugh.
Oh my god, I was this
Corporeal?
years old before I realized what that means.
I mean,
So companies are people, but they are not ghosts. Okay.
I would say, like, in terms of, really business, in some ways, actually, bringing on, new people, when it was more than just Graham and I being paid to do, able to work full time. But to be honest, actually, when we were able to bring on Beige and then Heather, who have done all sorts of wonderful work to help us, but they're the first ones that came on full time, not in a explicitly creative capacity, but to help us with the business in Bija's case with a lot of the office management stuff, and in Heather's case with a lot of all the administration of uploading and curating videos and getting all the stuff that we do actually in front of people so they can see it. And so that part, we're creating so much content that we need to hire a person to upload that content. And that
we have so much business, we need to hire somebody to run the business.
Yeah. Because, for a long time, we knew that we needed somebody in Bija's role for a while. Mm-hmm. But the problem was always that anybody in that role would theoretically know enough about business to when we were at the size that we were, would be like, no, I don't think I'm going to work for you. So to get to the point where we could actually support that as a person to have as part of our business, that's a big deal. So
nice. Good answer. All right. BG, you want to pick up the next one?
I will take the next question. Sure.
Yeah, we'll just carry on in a thing there.
Sorry, I had to duck the mic slightly. Heather will get me back on there because I coughed. All right, what's the next question then? From Booster 6, what is one positive effect that you think COVID-19 will have on your business long term? Actually, from the perspective of the business manager, it has meant that a lot of the processes that we were slowly implementing to kind of make things run easier on the business side of things, those things have pushed forward. Definitely made supplemental healthcare. We have universal healthcare in Canada, but supplemental healthcare is something that you can get, right? You can get additional healthcare on top of that. And so finding a plan to do that was something that was given a higher priority for me to do. So those kind of things were things where I was like, that's a positive effect, that because of COVID, it meant that I could stay home and then concentrate on pushing that stuff forward. And then there's just, I guess, other ways of trying to really improve general communication between everybody that we've that I think we focused on more and more as well. The more technical aspects of that, I wouldn't want to speak to. I'd maybe let Paul speak to that, or anybody else who wants to speak to that. But that's kind of where I'm at, is from a business side, being able to push more things to our accountants and have them recognize the importance of, we want you to, help us with this and get all of our books online so I can actually see them online, which is really things for me that I'm like, that's going to be a game changer for us long term.
Is it possible that the increase in telecommuting that the pandemic has brought on will lead to more people spending more time at home and being more able to fuck around more often, which would lead to more view numbers for us?
Because they can just have it loaded up in another screen and be like, I'm at home and nobody can tell me not to watch LoadingReadyRun.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like...
I mean, for a while that was just kind of
thought of
happening across the board, but I think our numbers have just settled back to normal at this point.
Yeah, there was a big...
People...
Yeah, we had a big spike in viewership numbers on our live streams, right in the middle of March, when sort of the bulk of people got sent home, which is just sort of interesting. And then that did slowly sort of taper back as people have actually realized, I'm going to be here for a while. I need to not just fart around at home and actually do my job, I guess is why. But speaking of streams, I predict that the Jackbox streams will not entirely go away when we can actually be back in the office. Because right now that's one of the we're doing crossing the streams instead of AFK because we can't have 5 people all sitting around a table playing board games, and the Jackbox streams have been a ton of fun, and B, fun for us, and B, a lot of fun for the viewers. So I can see those coming back at some point.
I would say it's less that we're going to keep the Jackbox streams around, which we probably will, and more that we've now actually found the best way to do streams with 8 people, not in a tiny office. And that if we do those again, we'll probably do those from home.
Yeah, everyone's had to really amp up their home stream setups.
And we've learned a lot about how to actually host and manage. Primarily, Paul has learned a lot about how to host and manage multicam, remote viewings like we are currently recording right now.
Yeah, we've tried every technical whatever, like Meet and Zoom and all the different things. And it turns out the easiest way is just to send the video directly to Paul.
Yeah.
Put your video into the Paul.
I mean, just quickly, I will say that, obviously this has been a huge learning experience in terms of handling remote communications and calls and stuff. And there is all sorts of interesting applications for that, even when we are no longer in pandemic lockdown type situation. The flexibility of being able to have friends from out of town join in with Jackbox games or other CTS games or Magic streams or anything. The flexibility of being able to do that without having to have them fly in or take the ferry over from Vancouver or wherever opens up a big area that could be very interesting even when we are back into the office. So that's something that is cool. Yeah.
All right, then I will pass things along to Heather.
Okay, question. From H. Bomb and Friends, since Feed Dump ended, have you seen a news story or hat and went, "Oh, this would be perfect for crap"? Well, we don't do that anymore. No, we don't do that anymore, so don't think about it.
Creative energies have gone elsewhere.
We stopped doing Feed Dump 2 years ago, longer, maybe. It was a thing we didn't really want to do anymore, so we replaced it with something we did. So I don't think about it.
There's definitely the feeling if anybody has watched me buy a printer, they'll probably get what I'm about to say.
Hands up, anybody? Heather?
So
it's not
I have
pretty.
to delete some footage.
So when I bought a printer, I spent about 6 months researching what printer I wanted to buy, and then I found one that actually matched what I wanted to get. And then I went ahead and you wait for a pretty good sale and you go ahead and you buy the printer. And then, so we had a printer now in our house. And then I spent the next 6 months shopping for printers. I already bought a printer, and now I spent the next 6 months shopping because I'd already spent 6 months shopping for printers. It was now part of my routine, and I couldn't stop myself from shopping for printers, even though I already owned one.
I will point out that this is not exclusive to printers. This is anything the Beach takes 6 months to try to buy.
Let's not pigeonhole Beach into just printers.
Yeah, no.
This isn't a panel. This is an intervention in a Trojan horse.
It's I have a very bad habit.
We're concerned about you.
I really appreciate that, Beach, because I recently, you might be able to see it, bought a Dutch oven. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, I wanted to solve my Dutch oven problem for all time.
Oh, no.
And as soon as I spent the money, I was concerned that somebody was going to release a new top-of-the-line hollow lump of cast iron.
Yeah.
And therefore rendering my solution obsolete or
You
maybe
gotta wait.
obsolescent.
Look, it's the end of August. If you wait till the fall, you got to see what Apple's got coming out.
I thought this was just
exactly. There
electronics
might be
thing.
some new
Refresh.
enamel technology.
Therein lies my point as to briefly you'll see things where it's like, oh, a news story that would be perfect for Feed Dump, but we don't do Feed Dump anymore. That was a very brief continuance. That was probably a few weeks for some people. I imagine for Kathleen, because she was definitely paying attention to that all the time. And then at some point you just let that fall off because you're like, I don't have time to deal with that.
I also was heavily involved in Feed Dump, running the camera, and I was there a lot of the time and sometimes organizing the people. And so it was just also, we didn't really buy hats for Feed Dump. People gave us hats. I didn't go around being like, oh, yes, this hat. We went to conventions and we came back with a bucket full of hats. Sometimes the bucket was the hat.
Yeah.
So because the thing is, we generally speaking didn't look for the stories for Feed Dump until we were maybe the night before or whatever. So that never happened to me. People will still set, and I looked it up, by the way. It was February 2018 was the last was the last episode, so almost 2.5 years ago. And people will still send us things to be like, oh, shame you're not doing feed dump anymore. This story would be great. And I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that would be a great feed dump story. But when I look at funny news stories, I just go, haha. Like I don't. It's I don't have that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But anytime I see a goddamn camper van or RV for sale on the side of the road, I'm like, oh, that would have been good for Road Quest.
Same way.
Yeah.
Every time. 'Cause we desperately were trying to get Beej in like a camper van or some ridiculous big like
would have been so
Chevy Vandura or something for Road Quest. The entire time we were on the trip, we're driving through BC, and Serge and I are like, oh, that would have been a good one. Like,
I was going to ask because, like, when I was doing my pass for Road Quest, I was hearing every instance of Beach going, "Oh, rubbernecking down the road, like that would have been good." And I wondered if that stopped.
I'm still doing it now.
In a small town outside of Cranbrook, BC,
Oh, no.
there was an ambulance for sale.
Yeah.
It was an E350 conversion to an ambulance, so it wasn't like a standard like big boxy ambulance. It's more of a like a vanbulance is what it is. And I was like, I guess if I bought a ticket on WestJet and flew out to Cranbrook and looked at it and saw if it was okay, and then I just turned around and drove it back all night, I could make it back to Victoria in time to still get on the plane and fly to Calgary for the show I have to do for 5 days before I have to come back and get in that same ambulance and then drive to wherever the hell it is we're going to.
What brought
Those
you back
seems
to
overall.
Earth?
The fact that there was no way I was not gonna pay a ticket to fly out to Cranbrook.
Yeah. After
So
all of that,
tempting.
it sounds like you would have needed to be driven somewhere in an ambulance.
It'd have been enough, yeah.
Yeah.
I just
All
had
right.
one more thing to
Yeah.
mention about feed dump, and that I think we put it down at the right time because any interesting news story now, I feel gets like the possibility space of comedy gets explored within about 60 seconds of it appearing on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, and you can like scroll through the replies of any news story and find that somebody has solved the humor.
Yeah, our jokes will never be as good as the 6th or 7th dunk down the list.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first ones out the gate are never the best. It takes it takes like 15, 20 minutes at least for the
Refine it,
perfect joke
yeah.
to be
And
discovered.
even
Yeah,
if we tried, we would be compared probably unfavorably to that 6th or 7th dunk. So why bother?
Or get accused
Yeah.
of stealing it.
And
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't really want to have to read the news sometimes. Right now.
Yeah. Well, that's
Valid.
why I would never subscribe back when, when like Google Reader was a thing. I never subscribed to, the AP Newswire. It was always the AP Odd News. So you never have to see anything about war or politics. It's always just man with lizards in pants.
There's politics to that.
It's a hell of a category.
It's always the surprisingly large number of reptiles that you can fit in your pants. They're very small when they're babies.
Okay.
Well, now that we've exhausted feed dump, maybe Alex can do the next question.
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
Oh my god.
Whoops.
Everybody,
Page button.
Martizzle.
There we go.
Oh, everybody else is going to have to answer this one. Who has the most Fall Guys crowns? Damn, I hope Fall Guys is still cool once this airs. I have not played Fall Guys.
I
Same.
think it's still cool.
I have 0. I also haven't played.
Yeah.
I came so
0.
close when we were streaming, but I don't think I have any.
I have the game, I just haven't played it yet.
I
Oh,
think
cool.
I think all of the people who won crowns are not in this particular call. We may have to do
Yeah.
that question again in subsequent Asklers when Ben and Serge and Corey have
Corey,
their-
yeah.
Corey
Yeah.
did get one.
I think of everyone, I'm pretty sure that Ben has the most because he's actually like played it a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, everyone who is not on this panel right now in Loading Ready Run is currently playing Fall Guys, and that's why they're not on the panel right now.
That's why.
Is that why? Brings up Steam Friends. Oh my god.
I will agree
Alright.
with the sentiment that I hope it's still cool once this airs. Because I like the little beanie looking.
I like the little bean man, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, I guess you're up
understand
then.
that I was just gonna say the only thing I really know about it, apart from the premise, is that you screw people on the finish line.
You can.
You can. You probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
I
believe
wouldn't.
that's what you would call emergent gameplay, I believe.
It'd be so easy for it to backfire too. Is that I've seen it backfire, where it's the person's at the end and they're just waiting, and then they grab someone, but the person they grab yeets both of them off the side, and it's like, well, now neither of us is qualified.
Have you seen the video that's been going around Twitter of the person that they saw cheating because they were just flying through the air, and they got on a team sport, and the entire team
Yes.
that the cheater was on was losing on purpose so that he couldn't move on.
Yes,
Oh wow.
it was really
Yeah.
funny.
That's the kind of like mob justice that I really go for, where it's like, wait, if we win, this dude's gonna no, we lose, we take him with us.
Solidarity.
Yeah, that's like
Love
the Dark Knight kind of like collective action right there.
Jeez.
I'll do what you should have had the courage to do 30 minutes ago.
Matt,
On to me. From Aurelian2773, how much trouble has it been to put on large group streams during the pandemic? And it does look pretty seamless on a technical level, but have there been headaches behind the scenes, Paul?
it does look seamless. I want to say, Paul, you've been doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I mean, this question illustrates that apparently I didn't take into account enough space for the questions on the overlay. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely the problem with a lot of this. A lot of the technology involved behind this stuff is that, it's based on there's a lot of steps between me or between the viewer and me and the me as the producer or whatever, and also the person actually like sending their signal from their house. There's their computer, their internet connection, my computer, my internet connection, the viewer's computer, the viewer's internet connection, various microphones, and all these different things. And if any part of it is messed up, it can really cause problems. And
Yeah.
and it's also that I can design and set up a system to do remote, to set somebody up for a remote thing. I know how to do that fairly well. But what's really hard is doing that without being able to physically go and set it up for the person, right? So it's like every person has to kind of become their own, production setup. They have to do their own. They have to become their own DP and their own lighting tech and their own whatever. And so that can be frustrating sometimes. But also just sort of the vagaries of internet stuff, that just sometimes somebody's internet connection will be bad, and it's been fine every other time, and now it's bad. And
Or Cloudflare will go down.
yeah. And it's like, for a lot of these problems, the issue is so far kind of above where we are. It's like, you could try restarting and see if it gets better. If it doesn't, literally there's nothing we can do. Like, it's just, it is what it is. I always say that when stuff is messed up, especially when it's messed up like on a larger scale, like, Cloudflare or if your internet is down or whatever, I tend to be comforted with the idea that there are a lot of other people running very, very expensive, extremely valuable businesses on the same infrastructure that are losing money way faster than we are when things go wrong. And so there's probably a lot of people working on the problem, and it'll get fixed at some point.
We're not losing nearly as much money as they are.
But I very much appreciate the understanding of the viewers in these trying times. When thing, obviously when it's a live show, people will be like, the audio's out of sync. Brr. But when it's with the remote things, people tend to be a little bit more relaxed about that kind of stuff, shall we say, which I appreciate.
And at least from the perspective of trying to get people onto the shows, because that's the other part of doing any sort of large group stream, is ensuring that people are available to be in those things in the first place. That at least has gone fairly well. That in terms of scheduling, like James does an awful lot to ensure that scheduling is properly communicated, and you get people involved as much as you can, and email our guests and ensure that they're ready, and to ensure that they've got what they need to kind of make things happen. And so you definitely give James his props for the fact that he makes a lot of this, like the coordination of this, work very well. And the fact that we have so many people within Loading Ready Run, but then also people from outside Loading Ready Run that are like, yeah, no, I can give up the time. I can be on the show. I can participate. I can come have fun with you guys. That's a thing that's seems a lot easier, but also has that kind of fraught coordination, which really I can't comment on because it is James's job.
I just like that we all know well enough to be wearing headphones.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that it's like with all the technology in the world, and obviously more and more people are using it now. It's still like every stream that we do that I'm involved in, I am online to start it an hour before it starts. And in the hour before it starts, people are coming in, people come in, and every single time, there's like, is my microphone working? Why isn't my microphone working? It was working last time.
Yeah.
Okay, switch it. And it's like, why is this? And so, there's still that process. Like you can't just everybody hook up, go. There's always, there'll
Windows
always
is
be
still
like
updating.
little hiccups are always around. It's very frustrating.
Cameron's next.
All right. Androgynits has asked, Lur has been going to conventions for a while. What are your favorite con-related memories? Ooh. And, big question. Whenever I go to a con, like the answer that I always give when people ask me, how was PAX, is I enjoy Seattle. Because I have a tremendously privileged con experience where when I go to a con, I usually get a badge that gets me in early, so I get to skip the lines. I can usually wander the convention floor, whatever shape that takes, when it's less crowded. And the times where I have thought, I really like that booth that I saw yesterday before the show opened. I should go see it today on Saturday at 3 p.m. And I just spend the next 20 minutes being buffeted around by backpacks swinging at me. So I don't usually have that experience. So I suppose like my general con experience is very favorable. But I always love my favorite moments at cons are the breaks I take, where I usually find like a little cafe that is at some distance from the convention center, and I just sit and drink like a little cup of coffee and read a book for half an hour. And it's this little island of peace in the middle of this big, loud, friendly, happy event. And I just really treasure that kind of little bit of solitude and stillness.
It's put in contrast.
Exactly. Even more specific, my favorite memory of a con was actually one that I was just reminded of today, which was, I think it was at South a couple of years ago, where I was with Bram and Beej and, was it Adam? Anyway, I was the only person on our panel who didn't have a panel immediately preceding it. So I got to be the lone lure person on the panel for about 3 or 4 minutes while everyone else just like did the Usain Bolt from their previous panel to our panel to try to get there in time. And I was just like, hello and welcome to Chemistry 499, Special Topics in Statistical Thermodynamics. Today we will be discussing the ergodic hypothesis. And somebody actually put their hand up and was like, "Oh, is the actually asked a question about the ergodic hypothesis." And I was like, no, that was everything. That was everything I remembered from school. That was it.
They called your bluff.
I had no follow-up prepared.
That was it. I remembered the opening 15 seconds of that class, and the rest of it sounded like a Buddy Rich drum solo. Right, it's just gone. It's deleted. Right? Somehow I managed to retain enough of it to get a good grade on the exam, and I don't know how, but I just think I had blacked out. And then the exam was done.
Oh, that's amazing.
I kind of want to steal this one from Beej because I just got reminded of it in a photo that came up at East. Threege.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was going to be mine.
It's interesting because it sort of dovetails into what I was originally going to say about con experiences, which is that as Cameron says, a lot of the best parts about it aren't the actual event itself as much as things that occur within it, the fan interactions and the panels and getting to meet friends that you don't get to see all that often. I think those are the parts that I think I treasure the most about them, and Threege was one of those examples. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, two fans cosplayed as Beej's convention outfit, and so we had three Beeges.
Not Beej, but Beej at convention.
Beej, yes,
Yeah.
it was really something.
They're in
Yeah,
uniform.
Beach's high vis.
The more terrifying part of that is that Jen, who works Bandland, she's an enforcer, works Bandland. She came down and she was like, "Didn't I just see you upstairs?" And I'm like, "I've been here the whole time." And she's like, "No, you were upstairs." And I'm like, "No, I was not." She's like, "You are recognizable. I would have known if you were upstairs." And I'm like, "No, I wasn't. What's going on?" And she's like, "You have to come with me." So she took Graham and I both to where she last saw me.
Right.
And I'm like, "Jen, I know you're not making this up, but I cannot for the life of me understand why this is happening."
It's like,
And we went back down to the
I felt
table.
so bad for Jen because she was like, "You were right here."
I know, it's normally you do "Yes, sure, Jen, yeah, and gaslight kind of thing. It's no. I believe you. Why make that up? That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then to see them show up 10 minutes, 15 minutes later at the booth and be like, "That's what I was waiting for. Great,
Holy
somebody actually
moly.
wanted to show themselves off."
This is
You
literally.
I guess you spend the rest.
I was gonna. This is literally the end plot game, end game of a bunch of heist movies, a bunch of people all dressed in identical outfits.
It's a Tom Scott affair, yeah.
Yeah, moving around. Yeah.
I was going to say, I would spend the rest of the day wondering when I walk into the time machine. Right? Is it when I... What happens between now and then? Right? Did you get a look at my watch? What did it say?
Right.
Right? It was running about 4 hours fast. I remember that.
Was it the same outfit, but was it all weird, silvery kind of and shiny?
Oh,
Did I have a shock of gray hair?
Or his eyes filled with murderous intent.
Or were they lasers? Anyway.
I love the
Anybody
idea.
else?
I love the idea that your future convention outfit is your regular convention outfit but shiny.
Yeah.
Made
And
out
then
of
satin.
Either that or it's covered in belts and pouches.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got a gun with just two, handles sticking out the bottom and 12
Rob
barrels.
Liefeld.
A rifle that looks like two birds kissing each other.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, the Covenant special.
Yes. Anyone else have a favorite con-related memory?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely just all about meeting people. I mean, we had, in Australia, we've had, people serenade us, which was very entertaining. Just all the people that come by the table in Bandland and say hi. That's what I really missed by this being PAX Online. I really, really missed that. And the one that comes to mind particularly for me is the woman who came by in cosplay as Agatha Christie, which
That was
blew
good.
my mind.
The
It was
cosplay of
amazing.
things that aren't actually costumes, I love.
Yeah. Well, she was dressed up like Agatha Christie, like the clothes that I put Agatha in the game, and it's just sort of like, you know, because it's like, hey, that's cosplay of a thing that I helped make. That's so cool. That was really special.
That's cosplay of my baby.
Yeah, my ancient baby.
Wow.
Please don't do his real baby.
No, that would be very upsetting.
No, that's weird and maybe crosses a line.
Yeah.
Is it to me now, or unless there's
It
other
is.
convention memories? No? Okay, all right. Well, I'll do it then. Let's go. Do any of you ever find it difficult to come to terms with jokes that don't age well? Asks Lasco. No, actually, I find it very easy to come to terms with it. It sucks, but it's like, oh boy, I was stupid then.
So are you
All right.
meaning like jokes that like we made or that other creators made, or like both? Because I mean, it's a similar question.
Right. I'm inferring that this is a joke, coming to terms with a joke that we have made that has now not aged well. That's my assumption, is that it's like, you know, something that we may have said before, because we've been doing this for 16
17.
years. Siri, no, I don't need your help right now.
Yeah,
And-
for
Yeah,
my part, deep shame and embarrassment is kind of how I come to terms with it.
yeah, exactly. It's just like I'm
It's like,
you know,
fuck.
like I said at the Loading Ready Run 15th anniversary stream, where we showed a bunch of old sketches, and there were one or two jokes in there that it's like that they weren't like holy crap, but they were like yeah, probably wouldn't have done it like that now.
That was tasteless.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like, hey, we don't stand behind every joke we've ever made. That's what we said at the time, and it's like, sorry, but yeah, it's like coming to terms with it. No, it's easy. It's just it's 2 tablets of shame. Wash it down with some embarrassment, and think about it every night as you're
Grow
falling
a
asleep.
person.
Yeah, vomit up an apology.
Yeah, well, it's like I found it strangely illustrative to actually look to ICP for some words of comfort on this. Because Violent J said in an interview, right? He was confronted with like, you know, you guys have said some really homophobic things in your songs before, and he said that he said to his daughter, "Don't make excuses for me, right? Say your dad was a fool back then, right? Like we were trying to be something, and it was bad. It was bad, right? There's no excuses for it."
Go ahead.
My feeling is like after the age of 25 to 30, and unless you have some sort of anxious demon in the back of your head, you kind of develop the perspective and distance from your past to really just be able to shrug it off as just stuff happens. I was a teenager once. Sucks back then. Sucked living through it. Sucks now, but gotta live with it.
It's funny because like there's things, like, jokes that we've made in old videos that is true for, but there's also like just completely meaningless personal interaction moments that nobody but me remembers. Those I can't forget for some reason.
No, that's the anxiety demon in the back of your head right there.
That's our
Yeah,
safety net.
He's got a lazy boy and like it's real comfy. Real
And a
comfy.
very
That's-
Like,
fast
knock,
remote.
knock, knock. Hey, time to remember that thing that happened 10 years ago.
That's there's literally a Bare Naked Ladies lyric where Stephen Page sings, "Nature provides for us a safety net. Whatever we do, we can never forget." And I'm just like, oh Jesus, Steve! Oh, to hear that in my teen years, to be like, oh God, why wasn't I listening more?
Oh, why is my fishing net full of barbs?
Yeah. Another thing about this question, though, is that in terms of jokes that don't age well, it could also just be like, because I said you could also read that as, how do we feel about jokes that are timely for a certain period,
Oh, yeah, okay.
But then also, and I know they mean the first thing that we talked about, but also the idea of just how do you come to terms with you guys have made jokes that don't play as well later, because if you don't understand the zeitgeist of the time, then you won't. And having done it for 16 years, that's something that we've moved on, right?
Like you see in really old movies where the cell phone is like a giant brick, and now we have whatever, and it's like, how has that movie actually aged forward properly?
I think
with that technology
becomes a time capsule at that point. That like dating it is, maybe the humor is diminished, but it becomes a sort of a signifier for the era. Like if we make a joke about fidget spinners or like bottle flips or something, that'll be like, I remember that.
Or like dabbing.
Wait, bottle flips aren't cool anymore?
We stopped dabbing.
I think we've generally
I just got good at them.
I think we've generally speaking tried not to do like
Highly topical stuff.
Topical pop culture jokes.
Yeah.
And I know that, because we've been doing this for so long, that when we watch old stuff and those jokes are in there, it's sort of like, I wish we'd come up with a better way of doing that, because now that joke just doesn't land, So
I mean, I think especially with the crap shots, like with back in like the sketches were probably tend to be less topical, but I think there's a value in sort of like especially with comedy, not only stuff that like we've done, but also just like comedy that you enjoyed when you were a kid, or but maybe not, or maybe it's kind of has some problematic elements now, or stuff that you don't like very much now. I think it's worthwhile not to just be like it's terrible and bad, but to sort of to look at it. And I feel like I know enough about sort of comedy and stuff that I can, you can have the dichotomy of appreciating what the humor was or is, while still being like, like I appreciate what the goal of this is and why I thought it was funny. I don't think it's a thing that I would be into now, but that doesn't take away the fact that I did find it fun. Like I'm not going to pretend that it was never funny to me, because obviously it was, and especially with stuff we've done. I can't think of any offhand, but there's definitely sketches we've done where the jokes maybe don't land as well, or we joked about something that we wouldn't joke about now. And I usually find the premise still like, I see where the joke was there.
Yeah,
but
I see what we were trying to do. I wish we'd done it differently, but I get how we got to that point, sort of thing. Yeah.
But
I see what you did there.
I mean, that Harlem Shake video is going to be timeless forever.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I
there's
was
certain
going to bring
things.
up the Harlem Shake.
So here's the thing, because it's like that's a prime example, because the Harlem Shake video, the joke in that video is about how we're late and bad to capitalizing on memes. It could have been anything. The fact that it's the Harlem Shake is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, I guess we're back to you. How are we doing on time, actually? We don't have an enforcer in the back of the room holding up a big sign.
A couple more questions here.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Do a lightning round.
This is with the onset of the apocalypse, your streams and filming has dramatically changed. What has been the most disappointing change you had to make? I love that this is asked by Eldrazi Trainer.
Jesus.
It's like, just out of curiosity, when the Eldrazi come, what kind of changes are you going to make? No reason that I'm asking.
Put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye.
I was going to say, someone's made a successful career pivot already.
Yeah. It's the fetch is a tough one for Eldrazi. Roll over, you don't want to get too close. Anyway. I mean, in the slideshow at the beginning of the show, Graham talked about stuff that we had planned for 2020 that we are not able to do. So, I mean, obviously that's a big change. And for me personally, from a like streaming standpoint, I keep seeing like neat board games, like from a production standpoint and like a tech standpoint. AFK has always been like one of the more fun shows for me to do because we're always coming up with new overlays and new different setups for the cameras and how can we really show this game off well and all this kind of stuff. And AFK board games are basically totally out of the window at the moment. And so that's frustrating.
It's definitely, I think. I'm sorry, Cam. You have your hand up like a polite gentleman.
Oh, I was just going to say the one thing that I missed was being able to complete Heat Death in time with the rest of the episodes. I think by the time this is done, we will have wrapped it up because we've taken some we found an alternative solution. But having watched what we have done with a lot of Dice Friends, I started wondering, well, maybe I was being a bit of a prima donna, right? Because I felt it was important that we all be in the same room, and I wanted to do Heat Death with all of my friends kind of like sharing the same space and being able to see everyone. And seeing how well other Dice Friends shows work remotely, I'm now wondering, maybe that wasn't the correct decision. But I'm just really happy to be able to wrap up that show.
Is 2020.
I mean, what I was going to say is actually I'm actually with you on your decision. I think the Dice Friend stuff that we've been doing under isolation has been great, but there's plenty of content that we haven't been able to even start on or make. But in terms of things that we've had to change, the one thing that bums me out the most is all of our streams that ordinarily had more than one person in the room, right? And many of them we've managed, for Rhythm Cafe, Heather and Ian have one person in the studio and the other person on audio. For Let's Know, Ben and Adam do the cool green screen thing, and we've got ways around that, and that's cool. But even those, there's still an element of the energy of being in the same room, and I like to think that as a whole we are a fairly quick-witted group of folks, and man, I mean, as you have seen previously on this very Q&A, voice chat, it's so easy to talk over people and just cut people off. And when you think you want to just make a little zinger in there, and you can't. And I'm bummed to be not able to do AFK and in-person Dice Friends, and even just LRRMTG with me and James sitting in the same room.
Yeah, I personally just don't like having to not be in the same room for Rhythm Cafe. Half of my interactions with Ian on that stream are me silently looking at him like his head's fallen off because he's done something very strange, and that doesn't relate to audio only so well.
So now in Rhythm Cafe, there's just these weird long pauses.
Yes.
People have just to imagine that you're looking over at him.
Yeah. And thank God Graham started a new podcast with Wiggins, because I was so sad that we had to push back any plans we had for the panelists filming, especially since I would have been editing them, and that would have been giving me work to do.
Yeah, don't think for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, that we had plans, obviously, and you've heard about stuff here and there, but plans were being made throughout January and February, and we realized going into March that's this could be affected. And then when we were in March, halfway through March, it's this is being affected, and now we have to take it week by week, and we have to see what happens. It's just the nature. That's kind of been the more disappointing thing, I guess, for me, is that having to kind of wait on tenterhooks, I think, was the thing of being we can't make any long-term plans for a couple of months. We just have to ride it out week to week and see what's going to happen until we all finally get to a point where we're okay, we know where we're at. Now we can take that breath. And that was when that release valve came for me, to be we know things have changed. Now we can start making long-term plans based on the position we're in.
Yeah, I always felt really bad every time we had a scheduling meeting, because every meeting James would be okay, we're only going to go 2 weeks ahead because things might change positively. And I'm oh, James. That's
Well,
a really positive thought, and I hope so, but I don't know.
I mean, we had, and I'm glad that we had this meeting, but we had a meeting with like me and Paul and Beej and Heather, you were there, I believe, also, and Kathleen, and we were like, okay, what do we, like, what's our? This was in late February,
Yeah.
maybe early March.
Well,
We were like,
March.
okay, so there's this virus going around that we're getting a lot of conflicting information about, but it seems like it could be a scary thing or whatever. What's do we have a plan? And so we were like, well, we could do these pieces of content we could handle like this, and this we could handle like this, and we could do and so we came up with a rough plan of how everything could be done. And we're like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm glad we had that meeting. We're never going to need to use any of that information, but I'm glad that we at least talked about it just for our own sort of well-being, just like, and then like 2 weeks later it was like, hey,
That plan?
all of that's happening now.
Yeah, the reptoids came.
Yeah. So,
All right, I think that actually was the last question. So,
yeah, all right. Yeah, I can see the enforcer waving time at the back of the hall. I miss
Aren't
PAX.
you looking at a wall?
Yeah. There's like
He's
a
got a
monitor
picture
and
of an enforcer right there. Don't you?
Are we like hard on time? Like, are we at 59 minutes? I'm guessing because I didn't turn on my timer.
yeah.
Damn. All right.
All right. Well, in that case, that is going to do it for this North American Askler. You may be watching this live on PAX. You may be watching a replay of it on our own YouTube channel. If you're not, do check out our YouTube channel. We're on YouTube and Twitch at Loading Ready Run. You can check out all of our stuff at LoadingReadyRun.com. We have 2 more of these scheduled for sort of European, UK viewers, and one for the Antipodes, Australia, New Zealand viewers as well. And then we have our panelists, which is going to be a great panel show, and happening live, Serge and James and guests are going to be doing some Minecraft shenanigans with the Punch-a-Chunk Challenge. So you're going to want to check that out as well. There's also a desert bus panel happening at some point during PAX Online, and I don't know if that's before or after this panel, but check that out as well. So, until next time, it's been Paul, Beej, Heather, Cameron, Matt, Alex, and myself, Graham, and we will talk to you some other time. Bye.
Bye.